Hare Krishna everyone. Please join us again today for Srimad Bhagavatam study. Today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Chapter 44, The Killing of Kaṁsa. And we'll be starting with little Kirtan. Hope you can join us. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Gatha Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Janant Gauri Vaishnavind ki Jai Nitai Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayam Udiryet
Tato Jayamudirye.
Shaktam Swakatha Krishna
Shautam Sakata Krishna.
Punya Shavana Kirtanaha
Punya Shravana Kirtana.
Hridayantasto Bhadrani
Hridayantasto hai Bhadrani.
Vidunoti Suhatsatam
Vidunoti Suhatsatam.
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya.
Bhagavate Uttam Shloke
Bhagavate Uttam Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhakti Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtiki.
Hare Krishna. So today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Chapter 44, The Killing of Kaṁsa. It's also known as Kans. So we generally call him Kans, so we'll use that reference. Shri Shuka Uvacha
Shri Shukavacha.
Evam Charachita Sankalpo
Evam Charchita Sankalpo.
Bhagavan Madhusudanaha
Bhagavan Madhusudana.
Asasadat Charunam
Asasadat Charunam.
Mushtikam Rohini Sutaha.
Mushtikam Rohini Sutta.
Please.
Shri Shukuvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha
Evam Charchita Sankalpo.
Evam Charchita Sankalpo
Bhagavan Madhusudana.
Bhagavan Madhusudanaha
Asasadat Charuram.
Asasadat Charuram
Mushtikam Rohini Sutta.
Mushtikam Rohini Sutaha. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuk Uvacha.
Shukdev Goswami said,
Shukdev Goswami said,
Evam
Evam,
thus, Charchita,
Charchita,
fixing, Sankalpaha,
Sankalpa,
his determination, Bhagavan,
Bhagwan,
the Supreme Lord,
the Supreme Lord,
Madhusudanaha,
Madhusudana,
Krishna, Asasad,
Asasad,
confronted, Atha, then, Charuram,
Charuram,
Charun, Mushtika, Rohini Sutaha, the son of Rohini, Lord Balram. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shukdev Goswami said, thus addressed, Lord Krishna made up his mind to accept the challenge. He paired off with Charun and Lord Balram with Mushtika. There is no purpose, so we'll cover next few verses. Verse 2. Seizing each other's hands and locking legs with each other, the opponents struggled powerfully, eager for victory. Verse 3. They each struck fists against fists, knees against knees, head against head, and chest against chest. Purport. The word Aranti in this word may indicate the elbow as well as the fist. Thus, blows were perhaps also struck with the elbow, a technique seen today in various martial arts. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshitarine. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, in this chapter, Lord Krishna, as was challenged and consoled so well by Charun, who said, when Lord entered the arena along with Lord Balaram, carrying the tusk of the elephant, Kulpid, that you just playfully kill this elephant, who had the strength of 10,000 elephants. So who is saying this? Charun is saying this to Lord Krishna. And why is he saying this? Because Lord Krishna said that, when there is wrestling, they should be among equals. And we are just the cowherd boys. And Charun is giving, a counter reasoning, making his proposal stronger by saying that even though you are a cowherd boy, but you are not a boy or a man, and you are in the prime of your youth, and you appear like a very, just like thunderbolts, like elephants, you look very strong. And we have heard that you cowherd boys, when you take the cows for herding, all day you spend is wrestling. So he is encouraging Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna had already made up his mind, but at the same time, this conversation happens because Lord Krishna also says that he doesn't want to taint the assembly of all these, the audience, the spectators who are gathered in this wrestling arena, to be tainted with sin. Because if there is irreligiosity being, encouraged, then that is not suitable. So he's giving reasons, very nice reasons to Charun. Yet Charun is just trying to follow Kaṁsa's plan. Because Kaṁsa had made this plan that first Kulpidiya will try to kill Lord Krishna. If Kulpidiya is killed, then they come to the wrestling arena where Charun and Mushtika will kill Krishna and Balaram. That's his plan. Man proposes, God disposes. So that's what is happening here. And Lord Krishna is playing along very nicely. So in the previous class, we also covered that the personalities, even the demons who appear in Krishna Leela, are not the common demons of today's times. Today's times, materialist and demonic propensities are seen at a very low level. And in the Shastras, when we see the demons, so these demons are also great devotees of the Lord who had made some offense or who had been cursed by the great sages. But just like the blessing or curse of a pure devotee is absolute. We talked about this. So just like Lord Krishna, whose punishment as well as blessing is also at the absolute level. So no matter who is the receiver is benefited. It's just like the washerman, he was killed by Lord Krishna, but he attained Sarupya Mukti. See, his soul came up as a spark and merged into Lord Krishna's body, and he attained the four-arm form. While later on the weaver came, he served Lord Krishna by nicely dressing Krishna and Balaram, and he attained blessings to live very happy and prosperous life, full of youth. And at the end of the life, he would be able to go back home. So he also attains the four-arm form and goes to Vaikuntha at the end of his life. And then we heard about Sudama the florist, who also received Lord's blessings. And he attained, so again, there is one difference, as you can see, that one lives blissfully, in this material world, constantly thinking of Lord Krishna, and then when goes back home, he's able to even attain a higher level of service in association with Lord Krishna, because of the bhav, because of the service that they are performing. So even in Vaikuntha planets, there are different gradings. So at the early stages, especially for demons, when they are killed by Lord Krishna, then they go to the Vaikuntha planets where Lord Krishna is appearing in Vishnu form, right, the four-arm form. And everyone is worshipping him with awe and reverence. The mood is of awe and reverence, that they are somewhat in a Shantrasa, but again engaging in various devotional service. And even higher, then that is Vrindavan, and even higher than that is Gokula. So Golok Vrindavan. So that is the highest one. So devotees, they get entry to the Golok Vrindavan. As pure devotees, they enter there and directly become associates of the Lord, engaging in various pastimes. And this, some of the aspects are reflected in this particular pastime. As you know, Lord Krishna and Balaram, they have agreed to fight with Charun and Mushtika. So who are these two persons, Charun and Mushtika? Who are these wrestlers? So in the scriptures, very nicely is described that long, long ago, once there lived a great sage Uttaya, brother of Brihaspati. And where does he live? He lives in Amravati, the capital of Lord Indra, the king of the demigods. And this Amravati, the capital of Indra, is situated on top of Mount Sumeru. So again, that's the location being identified in the scriptures. And there, this sage, he has 5 sons. And all his sons, they are great personalities who have very amazing features and very beautiful bodies and characteristics, and they are very learned in all the Shastras, all the scriptures. So these 5 sons are said to be as beautiful, as handsome as Cupid, as Kamdev. And though they are very beautiful, though they are very learned, they become attracted to wrestling. And they used to often, they stopped studying scriptures and they used to often visit. So the 5 brothers would visit who? The wrestling arena of Daityaraj Bali Maharaj. So his wrestling arena they would visit to just try out wrestling. And they were very powerful, they had great bodily features. So they engaged in wrestling. And they would spend so much in wrestling arena their time, most of their time, that their father became angry at them. And he cursed them. Sage Uttaya cursed his own sons, saying that you, instead of being a son of a Brahmana, where you have this amazing opportunity to engage in the various services that a Brahman performs, Shama, Dana, Tapa, Jnana, Vijnana, and so forth. You are giving up all these great qualities and you are going to the lower qualities because of the influence of the mode of passion. You are engaging as wrestlers, you're seeking the qualities of Kshatriya, so you become Kshatriya. You become demons because you are not following the proper injunction. You have a great opportunity. So again, it is so wonderful that sometimes we get opportunity but we don't realize that opportunity and we give it up, without knowing the great loss we are causing to ourselves. So it's very important for us to understand, it's a lesson for us, that when we are born in a great family, when we are born, and getting the association of devotees, frankly speaking, it's again, when you are born in a family, it's basically you have an environment where you can automatically engage in devotional service. And there are various examples given in scriptures. And then people try to give those examples as excuses. Just like Bharat Maharaj. He was son of Rishabdev. He was the emperor of the world. He gave the world, and when he was performing, devotional service in a small hut as his ashram, he saved a baby deer. And so he became attached to this deer. So when he died, he was thinking of the deer. So antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastatra samshaya. Lord Krishna says that at the last moment of life, if one remembers me, he comes back to me. And of this there is no doubt. But he was not thinking of Krishna. Who was he thinking of? He was thinking of a deer. The deer who had become, his main attention, main object of his focus. So he was thinking of deer. And that's where yam yam verse comes. So when we want to enjoy nice prasad, prasad means mercy. So this, even Krishna Katha is like a prasad, some mercy of the Lord to purify our senses. But if you eat prasadam, and sometimes it causes acidity, but that's not the case with Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm talking of materialistic food. Or, sometimes you overeat. So when you overeat, then you need Tums or antacid tablets. So this is the verse, yam yam verse. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajate anta kalevaram tam tam me veti kanteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So whatever one thinks at the last moment of his life, because at the last moment of our life, our whole life flashes through our memory. And whatever one has been thinking at the last moment, that one attains through the medium of mind. So the mind is the carrier that takes the soul and gives us the next body. So if you are thinking of Lord Krishna, then we get, we attain a spiritual form just like his, and we are able to go back home, back to Godhead. But if you are thinking of something else, like Bharat Maharaj was thinking of the deer, so he attains the body of a deer. But his memory is preserved. And this is bewildering to materialists. How could it be that a deer remembers his past life? So there are many examples given in today's times where people remember their past lives, and they even give in detail where they lived, who their family relatives are, what were they doing, and so forth. So in this particular case, Bharat Maharaj, he regularly goes giving up his family of deers, in the form of deer. He is listening to Harikatha and remembering how he fell down in his previous life. So this Bharat Maharaj is remembering Lord and trying to, make correction. He wants to, at the end of his life, he wants to correct himself. So he is born as Jad Bharat, as a son of a Brahman. And so this Brahman, he has two wives, and from his younger wife, he has a boy and a daughter, twins. And Jad Bharat is the boy. And he is trying to teach Maharaj Jad Bharat, who is called, Jad means dull, or, So, Bharat Maharaj, who was emperor of the world, because of thinking of a deer, fell down. Got the body of a deer, now meditating at an ashram, constantly in the body of a deer. Now, at the end of his life, he wants to make corrections, so he is, born as son of a Brahman. And this is the excuse sometimes people give, that he was born as a son of a Brahman, and why did not he learn from his father? He had the perfect opportunity. His father was a great scholar in Vedic knowledge. So his father wanted to teach him Vedic knowledge, Vedas. Yet Jad Bharat, was already a devotee of Lord Krishna. So he understood that Vedas deal with, various subject matters. And it has all kind of solutions, because when you go to a market, you find all kind of things. And sometimes you see huge amount of crowd where there is big sale going on in a mall store, or, in Sabji Mandi, which is like the vegetable market section of the market, that segment. And while everyone is thinking of how to obtain this by, engaging in these kind of activities and those kind of activities, trying to find solutions how to make their life comfortable. In such a market, if there is a diamond shop, you don't find huge crowd there. You only find one or two people, looking at diamonds, who really have that knowledge. But in Vedas, devotional service is not touched very well. That's why it is said that when Vyasadeva, he wrote even the Vedas and the Puranas and all these scriptures, he was not very satisfied. And Devashi Narad visited him. And he said that, I see that you are not very satisfied even after writing all the Vedas and Puranas and Upanishads. And it is because you did not glorify Lord Krishna enough. So then at the maturity of his life, of his knowledge, of his age, he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, which glorifies Lord Krishna. And that is what gives him and gives the whole universe satisfaction. So it is a great fortune that Srila Prabhupada translated Srimad Bhagavatam for our benefit. So Jad Bharat was already meditating on Lord Krishna. So he realized that it is important for me to meditate on the Super Soul in my heart, engage in devotional service, constantly meditating. So smaranam, constant remembering, is also a devotional process. So he was constantly, meditating on Lord, singing in prayers from heart to heart and so forth. So he did not need that external connection. So sometimes people forget this particular aspect, but they are amazed. How could Jalbharat remember his life as a deer, his life as an emperor of the world, and how he fell down? So this is where in the previous class we gave the hint. Lord Krishna says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate. Not seeking any other shelter. Basically, the pure devotees of the Lord, they are constantly engaged in His worship. And so the devotees who are engaging in His worship, keeping Him as the only focus, to them, Lord provides what they lack, so He delivers what they lack, and He preserves what they have. Yogakshemam vajamiham. So when Arjuna Acharya, so again I'm kind of like transitioning out, but we'll come back. That's important because we are building up. We are building up lessons after lessons after lessons, and we'll come back to how Lord Krishna is so merciful to the Charun and Mushrika who are the wrestlers. And so these wrestlers were cursed. We'll come back to how they are born. And so this particular verse is where Lord Krishna is saying that those who worship me with full attention, with love and devotion, for them I preserve what they have and I deliver what they lack. So Lord Krishna, being merciful to Maharaj Bharat, after the birth of as deer, he gets to take birth as a son of a transcendentalist or as a son of a Brahman. Yet at the same time, without getting distracted again in engaging to sustain himself by performing various kind of prescribed duties as a Brahman, he was at a Vaishnava level, which is much higher level than a Brahman. Brahman is in the mode of goodness. A Vaishnava is in the transcendental mode, right? He transcends the three modes of material nature. He is at the absolute platform. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. So one who is at the stage of Brahman, he is prasannatma. He is joyful constantly because that's the nature of the soul. Satchidanand Vigraha. So the soul is Satchit and Anand. So those are the three characteristics. It's eternal, it's full of knowledge, and it's blissful, transcendentally blissful. So Jal Bharat was already in that state. So he did not want to engage in any external activities with the fear of falling down. And he would take whatever comes by Lord's accord and go with the flow. Yet at the same time constantly meditating on Lord Krishna. So he was able to attain perfection. So this is very important for us to understand that why he did not take to life as a Brahman, because he was a transcendentalist. And here, now these sons of Uttaya, they have been cursed by their own father. Sage Uttaya has cursed his own sons. So now they are born as sons of king of Mahishmatipuri. So in this particular place, when they are born as this king's son, all five are still brothers. They are born as brothers. And they have very strong bodies. And they love to do wrestling. So again, from childhood itself, they were great wrestlers. And once it so happened that interpret Kaṁsa, he is with that mood that he wants to win over the neighboring kingdoms and create some alliance with the powerful kings. He goes to Mahishmatipuri and he puts this proposal in front of these five brothers. In the presence of all the elders, in the assembly of the king, he is making this proposal. So he is going on there in a friendly mood, but with a political agenda. So this is also very interesting that sometimes they come to us in a friendly mood, but they only want their purpose to be served. So this is, he being a great politician, Kaṁsa was always looking at wherever he would go, he would have his political agendas and he would try to satisfy those agendas. So here he is going and he puts this proposal that I see that you five brothers are great wrestlers and I would also like to, wrestle with you guys. But I want to put this proposal that whoever is the winner, he'll be the master and the losers will become their slaves. So the 5 brothers, they are excited. They're saying, wow, Kamsa is a very powerful king. It would be nice. So these, each of the 5 brothers, the prince, is thinking that if I defeat Kans, he will become my slave. What can be more glorious than that? So they agree for this. So in the wrestling arena, they gather. And first, Charun comes. And as soon as Charun comes, Kamsa just with the hand, he lifts him up and puts him onto the ground, completely flattening him. And looking at this, Mushtika, he becomes angry. How could Kamsa so easily defeat my elder brother? And so there is not just the feeling of wrestler coming up, but also feeling of avenging my brother, which is a demonic thinking at times. And this is where, in this mode of passion and somewhat of an ignorance, he's approaching Kans. And Kans just punches him once, floors him again. So this one, the second brother, is floored. Kuta comes. Kuta, as he's kicking, Kans catches his foot and rolls him around, banging him onto the ground and starts dragging him. So Shal comes at this time, banging his thighs and his arms. And at that time, as Shal comes, Kamsa kicks him so hard that he flies. He literally is thrown for yojanas, and Toshal comes. Similarly, he is floored again. So all 5 brothers, they have been defeated by Kamsa just by one stroke of Kamsa. So you can imagine how strong Kans is, which he is going to build up later on, as with that strength and that political power, how ignorant he becomes and how fearful he becomes and what happens to him. So this is the story of Charun and Mushtika. And we also heard that when Kulpidia elephant was coming in, Kans was wrestling with Charun and Mushtika. So he would often wrestle with his wrestlers, chest against chest, arms against arms, and he would enjoy that. So that's Veera Rasa, right? So people who are in the mode of passion, they really enjoy it. They allow the opponent to hit them, and they actually derive great pleasure in that mood. And they hit the opponent as part of their, offense, and with that mood of winning over their enemy, their opponents. So here, Charun and Mushtika are fighting with Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. And Lord Krishna is hand in hand, and chest against chest, head against head. They are, in this wrestling arena, they are wrestling with Charun and Mushtika. And it is said that Lord is enjoying this. Now that's also bewildering to people. How could Lord Krishna, who is, always blissful, his body parts are said to be in perfect shape, his hands are soft, they're as soft as lotus stems, and he's so delicate. Means when he walks on the ground, barefoot, the gopis were in anxiety that the thorns and the sharp stones, in Vrindavan, in the forest, would be hurting Lord's lotus feet. So he's to the, heart, to the devotees, he is very delicate. Yet to the demons, he's like a thunderbolt. So Lord Krishna is fighting with Charun, and Lord Balaram is fighting with, wrestling with Mushtika. And as they are fighting, they are hitting each other with wrists, elbows, using shoulders to push each other down. And there was even a moment, where Lord Krishna and Balaram, they pick up Charun and Mushtika and then putting them on the floor, but then they are able to quickly, dodge and get up. And so this fighting is going on. And Lord is enjoying Veer Rasa, which is a secondary rasa. So there are 5 primary rasas: Dasi Rasa, Shanta Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, and, Madhurya Rasa. So those are the 5 primary ones. But this Veer Rasa, the enjoyment that comes through wrestling, is also a secondary rasa, as described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Srila Prabhupada provided that summary in Nectar of Devotion. So here, this great fight is going on. The great wrestling match is going on between Charun and Mushtika and Krishna and Balaram as they are, fighting with each other. Charun with Krishna, Mushtika with Balaram. And Lord is enjoying. You can imagine his Lord. Because in Vaikuntha, where he has been worshipped with awe and reverence, there is no possibility of anyone even thinking of wrestling with Lordship. However, in Golok Vrindavan, it does happen. Lord does enjoy with cowherd boys. So when he goes out for cowherding, he gets this opportunity to wrestle with Sridhama. So, and other cowherd boys. Subal is, his expansion is Arjun, and he is a very soft, slim cowherd boy. So he has not been shown so much as wrestling, but there are cowherd boys who love to wrestle with Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. It reminds me of this incident that once, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj discusses in his book, that once there was a word Sankirtan party that was, a group of devotees. They were traveling through and they came to Mayapur. And His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj and some other devotees went with these devotees. Jayapataka Maharaj was also there. So they went to take bath in Ganges, and they were taking bath, and all of a sudden somebody put this proposal that let's do some wrestling amongst with each other. And it was so arranged, and everyone agreed to the proposal. And then one boy from the Sankirtan party said he would like to wrestle with Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and he came forward, just going with the flow. So devotees go with the flow, not saying that, oh, no, I'm not going to fight, or I'm not going to wrestle. And this devotee very quickly, defeated His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. So at that time, for the devotees in Mayapur, it was, suddenly they were invoked with this feeling that how could this happen so quickly? So at that time, Jayapataka Maharaj came forward, and he had the body like a quarterback of a football team, right? He had this amazing personality. He still has. So he came forward and he said, I would like to fight whoever is the best among you. And one of the person who was the strongest and the great looking, he has great build and seemed to be very strong. He came forward from that Sankirtan party. And when he came, Jayapataka Maharaj, just in one move, flattened, showing the prowess that yes, he's a great leader, and he can show that just like Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram can defeat the demons. In this case, it's not the demons, but again showing the, just like Lord Krishna would fight with Sridhama, and they would enjoy that Veeraras in wrestling match. So Jayapataka Maharaj showed his Veeraras bhav in that wrestling match, which was so glorifying that everybody, cheered, Jai, Jai, and, it was a very blissful scenario. So here, as Charun and Mushika are fighting with Lord Krishna and Balaram, at that time, what's happening to the audience, somebody could ask. Because what they are saying that these grown-up wrestlers who are professional wrestlers, like they enjoy doing wrestling, are fighting these cowherd boys. And these cowherd boys, Krishna is like to the ladies, he's appearing like Cupid personified, like Kamadev. And they are thinking that he has so soft features, so soft arms, he's just 9-year-old. How could this even happen? So they were gathering in different groups and saying that it is so amazing that even the king is watching this religion being promoted. And everyone in the assembly, how could it be in the assembly of all these personalities, the relatives of the king and so many members of his assembly, all these personalities are allowing this to happen? That is so such an injustice that's happening. Yet at the same time, Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, they are fighting with that mood to enjoy this wrestling. And it is so wonderful that they turn the situations completely around. So soon, Krishna and Balaram, they pick up Charun and Mushika and defeats them so much so that they die on the spot. Right? So there are various descriptions given, and even the descriptions in different scriptures are little varying. So again, in the wrestling match, they are put flat onto the ground, they die, And at that time, everyone is cheering, Jai, Jai. So again, people are expecting them to be the defeated party, and at the same time, they came out victorious, defeating these wrestlers. So everyone is in this jubilant mood and, cheering them up. But there is one personality who's not cheering them up. Who is this? Kamsa. Because he has this political agenda of killing Krishna and Balaram. Man proposes, God disposes. He hasn't understood. Even Akrur gave him this advice that, oh my dear king, you have a very good plan. But, a mature person is stable and does not get affected even if the result comes out otherwise. And now the result is always coming out otherwise. This reminds me of a wonderful incident that once Srila Prabhupada, he visited a temple. And as he was standing in front of the deities of Shri Radha Krishna, he had a big smile on his face. So his secretary looked and he was surprised. How come Prabhupada is smiling so, magnificently? He's looking so magnanimous and he's looking at the deities. So the devotee started observing the deities. What is it that he's observing? And suddenly what he observes, that Lord Krishna, who's holding the flute, has been placed the other way around. So the mouth of the flute where you blow the wind is on the other end. And he's saying, then he immediately responds as soon as he notices, oh, the flute is the other way, the mouth end is on the other end of the flute. And Srila Prabhupada says, that doesn't matter. Lord Krishna can still, blow his flute, and the song of the flute will still be so melodious. At that time, the devotee, his secretary, realized how Srila Prabhupada has such a strong faith in Lord Krishna and how he is such a pure devotee of Lord Krishna that even, a flute can be placed other way. Lord Krishna is such an expert that he would still continue to perform his eternal rasa dance. So that is the mood of a pure devotee. And here, Lord Krishna himself is fighting, so he has defeated. And at that time, Kans, he immediately orders his soldiers to attack Krishna and Balaram. And what happens just before that is, as soon as Charun and Mushtika, they are killed, Kuta approaches and Shal and Toshal. So the three brothers of Charun and Mushtika, they approach Lord Krishna and Balaram with the intent of killing them, because they want to avenge their brothers, again the mood of passion. Yet at the same time, Lord Krishna and Balaram, they kill all three brothers, all three wrestlers. So all five brothers are dead on the wrestling arena. And all other wrestlers have scattered away. They just ran away, saying that the best wrestlers are dead. And at that time, Kans is giving this order that, arrest these two, kill them rather, and kill Nanda Maharaj as well as Vasudev, and arrest his father, Kansa's father, Ugrasen and Devak. When he gives this order, it was, such an order which was so irreligious in its very nature that Lord Krishna, he jumps over and reaches to the stage where Kansa is sitting. And at that time, instead of fighting with Lord Krishna, because as we heard how Kans was so powerful that he could defeat Kulpiriya elephant, he could defeat each of these five brothers with a single blow in a wrestling match. This Kans suddenly gets afflicted with anxiety, and that anxiety causes fear. And that fear invokes the cowardice in him. So he immediately picks up a shield and a sword. So what is Kansa doing? He is being fearful, not realizing, he is seeing Lord Krishna as death personified. So he is saying that this is my death, and he is trying to fight with his death. But instead of fighting in the right state, in fear, he degrades himself by picking up a shield and a sword. And this is what hurts the Lord, when he sees that what is this living entity, so bewildered in anxiety and fear, is acting in a way that he is becoming highly irreligious in his behavior. And seeing this, Lord Krishna, brings him down, so he is not able to use shield or sword to defeat Lord Krishna. And at the side of the arena, where not everybody could see Kans, Lord Krishna jumps on top of Kans, and with just banging with his fist, he kills him. And then he drags Kansa's body to show everyone in the arena that I have just killed the king Kaṁsa. So this is where he's not giving any glory to this personality, Kaṁsa, who is his maternal uncle. And there are 8 brothers of Kaṁsa. So they want to avenge their brother. So they attack and Lord Balaram kills each one of them. So that's also given in the Shastras that elaborate because of the time factor. We cannot go into the more details about the brothers and how they were killed. Yet at the same time understand that Lord Balaram kills each of them. And there is an interesting thing that's given in scriptures that Lord Krishna has just killed 2 very strong wrestlers, and along with Balaram he has killed all 5 brothers. These were great wrestlers, world-known wrestlers. And he just killed Kaṁsa. So at that time Shedama, he gets up. He says that this cannot be Krishna. I don't think that this is Krishna. This is some other person. This is some other personality. Because every time I would fight with Shedama, which means with Krishna, Shedama would fight with Lord Krishna, Shedama would win. So he challenged Lord Krishna. So this is not given in Srimad Bhagavatam because, Shukdev Goswami is trying to cover so many great subject matters in such a little time, only 7 days. But we have this opportunity to discuss as how wonderful Lord is. And Shedama happens to be brother of Radharani. So he doesn't understand one basic principle, that the whole world is on one side, the beloved's brother is on the other side. They are equally weighed. This is a common saying in India, that the brother of your wife has, can even be more highly esteemed than the whole world on the other side. So when you're given the choice, you try to benefit your brother-in-law, your wife's brother, not the brother of your sister, but your wife's brother. Of course, there's a reciprocation aspect there. So here, Shedama is saying this cannot be Krishna. So he comes down to wrestle with Krishna. And Krishna is smiling and he says, okay. And when they are wrestling, Lord Krishna is still showing that he is wrestling to the best of his abilities. And then he slips and Shedama is able to defeat him. He says, okay, yes, this is Krishna. Now that he has defeated Krishna in front of everyone, he agrees that this is Krishna. So this is something that's given in other scriptures, not here. But it's very important that how Lord Krishna is, showing the mercy to his devotees in different manner. So the Kalnemi, who was born as Kaṁsa and received the benediction of being killed by the hands of Krishna, of course, attains Sarupya Mukti. He goes to Vaikuntha and worshipping in awe and reverence. While Shedama, who is an eternal associate of Lord Krishna in Golok Vrindavan at a much higher, dham, at the topmost dham, and he is enjoying in Sakhiras and also somewhat in a Madhuriras, because he feels that he has to take care of Krishna as his dear friend, and he loves Krishna very much. So they are all, as cowherd boys, in the Sakhiras, they are having such wonderful loving exchanges. So in this chapter, Kaṁsa is killed, and his brothers, 8 brothers, are also killed by Lord Balaram. So Kaṁsa is killed by Lord Krishna. So the prophecy has come to realization. And this is where this chapter ends. We'll pick up in the next chapter as how, for a moment, Devaki and her husband, Vasudev, who were the parents of Vasudev Krishna, they somehow realized that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how in that mood they are worshipping in their heart, and they show in their attitude when the Lord Krishna is approaching with Lord Balaram towards his parents. And how quickly Lord Krishna, invokes Yogamaya to cover them again so that they can be engaged with him in Vatsalya Ras. So that pastime is where we will be picking up in the next class. And in this particular class, we covered some amazing aspects as how Lord Krishna preserves what we have as devotees, and he provides what we lack. And Srila Prabhupada, he covers these aspects, and he covers a very beautiful story of Arjuna Acharya. So it was so happened that Arjuna Acharya, he was writing a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And in his commentary, he was writing the commentary and he was reading this verse.
ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshema vajamyaham. So when he hears vajamyaham, it means aham means I. Vajami is carry. Lord Krishna carries. What the devotees lack is that he crossed out those words and he said, maybe he provides through his associates. So his associates carry what devotees lack. And then, deciding that he has to, take snan and do the regular morning activities, he tells his wife that he is leaving to take bath to the river. So he heads to the river, leaving his ashram. And his wife, she is cooking, preparing bhoga, offering it to offer it to the lordships. And suddenly there is knock on the door. She opens the door, and what she sees? That there are two beautiful boys standing. One is fair, one is dark, and they are carrying heavy loads of stuff. So she says, yes, inquires, who are you and why are you here? So they say, oh, we are here because we have to carry these things for, great saintly personality, Arjuna Acharya. So for him, we have carried this. He asked us to bring these items. And she says, no. I don't think he asked, he would have told me. I said, no. I'm paraphrasing some of the aspect. He is, he beats us if we don't give it. And she knew her husband to be a magnanimous soul who would never even get angry. How could he beat young, beautiful boys like these? They say, no, he beats us. And then the dark boy, he showed his back. And there were two big marks on the back of this boy. So she was shocked to see. So she took whatever they gave, because now she understood that they are in fear of her husband, that he beats them. And she was in such a shock that without offering bhoga to the deities, whatever she had prepared, she served herself, she starts eating. Because she is stunned in that mood, like how could her husband be so cruel? And when Arjuna Acharya, he returns, Srila Arjuna Acharya, he sees that his wife is eating. Without offering the bhoga to the deities, she started eating. He says, Devi, what's going on? And she says, how could you be so cruel? And then Arjuna Acharya says, what happened? Then she narrates the whole incident, what happened. And Arjuna Acharya, when she draws those two lines, he pays attention that these resemble exactly what he had done, in Bhagavad Gita, Vajamyaham. So at that time he realized that Lord himself carries. He realizes that Lord is saying what he does. He carries what devotees lack. So this is a lesson for us, that Lord is so merciful that he is, preserving what we have, yet he is carrying what we lack. So much so that he is even ready to share his own property, his Vaikuntha planet. So all the devotees and the demons that he is blessing or he is annihilating, they are going back home, and he is allowing them to share what actually belongs to him. In Vaikuntha planets, all these personalities, they are worshipping Lord with awe and reverence, yet they are living in palatial, buildings, and they are having all auspicious things. They even travel in Hamsa Vimans, and they can, from desire to get whatever they want. And all these things belong to Lord Krishna, right? Yet he is so magnanimous, he is so loving, and he is so easy to please, that he is sharing everything that belongs to him. Yet at the same time, sometimes materialists in delusion, and especially as we heard, Namam Durshkitino Murha Prapadyante Naradhama Maya Pradgyana Asuri Bhavam Ashita. People who are fools, people who are just living materialistic life and trying to survive and undergoing all kind of miseries, suffering constantly. People whose intelligence have been taken away by knowledge. People who are, have demonic propensity to just, satisfy their greed. Such personalities never surrender to Lord Krishna, who is so magnanimous that he wants to share everything that he has. And he is the supreme proprietor. Bhoktaram yagatapsam sarva lok maheshwaram. So hidam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. So Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that He is the supreme proprietor of material as well as all the spiritual universes. And He is the beneficiary of all the sacrifices. And He is our very best friend. What do you want more than that? And when we realize that, then we are peaceful and we become Prasannatma at the Brahmabhuta stage with just one mood to serve Lord Krishna, who is so magnanimous that He is so absolute. Just like sun that purifies with its rays everything, Lord Krishna, He is giving blessings in whichever way we engage with Him. That's why Sutta Goswami is singing, Akamaha sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purisham param. Even if you have no desire, which means no material desires, akama, which means that we have desire to serve Lord, please Lord, or sarva kamava, or even if you have all kind of material desires, to enjoy this material world, to enjoy all kind of opulences, or moksha kama udadi, and even if one has the desire to attain liberation, moksha, to be able to go back home, back to Godhead, or even sometimes from Mayavadi or Brahmavadi perspective, merge into effulgence. Even if such desires, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, one should engage with great enthusiasm, with great determination, with great energy, Bhakti Yogena, in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the instruction, and when we want to perform devotional service, it simply starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Anant Kori Vaishnavind ki Jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Prahlad प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौ प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा।